Alright, a few quick tips on refueling. One of the things that is pretty hard to do in this game, but it's easier and easier the more you try. Alright, so first thing we want to do is find a tanker on our TACAN. In this case, TACAN 61, 16 miles away. Select TCN. Now let's turn towards the tanker. Pull up my SA. And you can see on my SA, I've got the group just ahead of me. If I go ahead and press step, it'll highlight them. And then if I turn my HMD on, I got them right there. Alright, let's get ready for air-to-air refueling. What you want to do is get up a screen, your fueling page on one of your screens. And let's put our FCF up on our left DDI so that we can get our master cautions or errors there if anything happens. Group's coming up. So we'll go ahead and call them on the radio, F6, F1.
Arco 1111, request rejoin. 11, Arco 11, proceed to pre-contact at 21,000 at 220.
Alright, so he said he's at 21,000 feet at 220 speed. Okay, coming up behind him. So, the first thing you want to do is get situated with them. Try to match your speed, try to match your altitude as best you can. Lock it in there for a second. Alright, so I'm carrying one external tank right now, as you can see. So depending on how many tanks you're carrying, you want to override your tank so that you fill your wings and your fuselage before you fill your tanks, in case you need to drop your tanks for any sort of emergency. So if you had wing tanks, you would put your wing tanks on override. If you had a center tank also, you would put your center tank on override. In my case, I only have a center tank, so I'm just going to put my center tank on override. You do have to set that back to normal once you're done, so you got to remember that. Next thing you want to do is extend your probe. Extend probe. And there she is. You get a little master caution, that's fine. Go ahead and clear that. So now we're going to start approaching the tanker. Now here's the thing you had a problem with the other day. So the next step is to ready pre-contact. Now if I call ready pre-contact when I'm out here.
Ready pre-contact. Return pre-contact?
He says return pre-contact. In other words, he's saying you're not where you're supposed to be. So you gotta return to pre-contact. So we gotta keep trying. And the thing is with the pre-contact is you really have to get right behind the aircraft in the right position for him to say ready pre-contact. If not, he'll just keep telling you to return pre-contact. So don't even bother trying to call pre-contact until you're really up there, up and close with him. So just creep up on him real slow, not in a rush. Said he was going 220, which is never exactly correct. What the speed he tells you is never really accurate, so don't just use it as a rough estimate. So right now, even if I try pre-contact.
Ready pre-contact. Cleared contact?
Oh, this time it worked. He said cleared contact. So that means I'm cleared to the basket. If you're not sure if it worked, just press your radio menu again, and if you see abort refuel, that means you're in pre-contact mode. If it says pre-contact, that means you gotta call it again. So as we approach him, again, you want to stabilize your aircraft as much as possible. What happens often when trying to refuel is you get the wibbly wobblies, which means you get a lot of this and you get a lot of this, and it's very hard to control. So before even approaching him, just get behind him, visualize the basket, and just really get your aircraft settled. And you got to watch out for his wake also. So here's the trick. I'm going to pause the game for a second. Now, the trick to refueling that helps is if you look at the bar on the right side of your HUD, on the top of it here, there's a little circle with a crosshair, and then here you have your fueling pod. So as you're approaching the basket, you want to put the basket on the bar between the circle crosshair and the top of the probe. You want the basket to be somewhere in between here on the bar. If you do that, you'll always nail the basket. Once again, it takes a little finesse. We're talking about micro movements with the joystick, micro movements with your speed. You're always adjusting your speed, you're always adjusting your aircraft, but very, very little movements, little adjustments. Let's get that basket on the bar. Slowly approach the aircraft. If you feel like you're getting the wibbly wobblies, just back off, stabilize, and try again. When you do feel like you got it good, just pick up speed and try to get that basket. See, I got the wibbly wobblies. I'm going to back off a little bit. Get out of the wibbly wobblies. Basket's back on the bar. Let's try again. I feel this one. I'm going to pick up speed and capture.
Contact.
I'm going to pause the game again. So when you make contact, you don't want to just make contact and stretch the line. You want to take up some of that slack. So as soon as you make contact with the basket, just keep pushing forward a couple more feet to take up the slack on the line, because if not, you'll keep losing contact with it.
You're taking fuel.
Now, the next thing, I'll pause it again. Once I make contact with the basket, all my concentration is aimed somewhere else. Don't look at the basket anymore. That's going to fuck you up. What I do is I look at this pod on the wing of the aircraft, and I look at the top line of my HUD glass and the bottom line of my HUD glass, and I basically keep the pod in between the two lines of the glass. That way you'll never lose connection. And then the next thing you want to do is just, with your peripheral vision, just keep an eye on the aircraft. If it looks like you're gaining on him, slow down. If it looks like he's getting away from you, speed up. Very, very little increments. Just keep your pod between the glass, peripheral vision on the speed. Let's try it out. Very, very gentle movements. Keeping that pod between the glass. Checking the position of the aircraft. Making sure that he's going the same speed as I am. Still looking at that pod. It's almost like falling into a trance. I'm not really blinking. I'm just staring at that pod. I'm relaxed. Slight movements, slight corrections. Every so often glancing down at my fuel. Little movements. Now, at times the aircraft does turn left, and this happens often when you're fueling. It's a bit of a challenge. It's something else you have to get used to. It's one of the hardest things to do, but the first thing I'm going to tell you, the most important thing I'm going to tell you is anytime the aircraft is in a left-hand turn and you're trying to fuel, that's the best time to practice, because if you can fuel in a left-hand turn, you can fuel anytime. So challenge yourself. When he starts turning left, don't wait for him to stop turning. That's the best time to practice fueling, because that's the hardest thing to do. And if you can do that, you can do it anything. You can do it straight anytime. Keeping that pod between the glass. Checking my speed. I'm not even looking at the basket right now. I'm just looking at that pod. I'm also watching the horizontal line of the aircraft and matching it with the horizontal line of the glass on my HUD. That's a really good trick to do, especially when you're in a turn. Try to match the horizontal lines.
Transfer complete.
There we go.
Disconnect.
So you pull back a little bit. Shift over to the right. Oh, he just got into his left turn right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump some fuel right now. Just so I can show you fueling in the left turn. So in case you want to know, your dump fuel switch is right here. You may need to use that quite often. If you're coming in for a landing and you got too much fuel, you need to dump some fuel. Just don't forget to turn it off. Close our pod and reset tank to normal. We'll redo the steps. Still dumping fuel. Get back to my fuel page. Back to my FCS. Alright, I'm dumped down to 9,800. Let's turn that off. Okay, so let's do it again. Call the tanker.
Arco 1111. Request rejoin. 11 Arco 11. Proceed to pre-contact at 21,000 at 220.
21,220. Extend my pod. Override center tank. It's moving. So here we go, refueling on a left turn. Same technique as you approach the aircraft. You want to stabilize your aircraft. Try to match his turn. Try to match his speed. Going a bit too fast. There we go. I'm going to call pre-contact.
Ready, pre-contact. Cleared contact.
He said clear contact, so I'm good to go. Start moving in. Gonna get that basket. On the bar, my HUD. Baskets on the bar. Don't be afraid to approach the basket too. Don't do it too slow. The longer you take to make contact, the more you're going to start getting the wibbly wobblies. If you feel it, go for it. Punch it. I punched
Contact.
it. There we go.
You're taking fuel.
Matching the pod, matching the horizontal line of the wing with the horizontal line of my glass. keeping that little point of the pod between the two lasts. As long as you keep your horizontal line of your glass, your top of your HUD
Transfer
glass
complete.
with the wing, you'll be good.
Disconnect.
Alright, that's it. So, retract pod, center tank back to normal. Put my screens back up. And that's it. That is how you fuel. Good luck, man. You'll figure it out. Give it time. Don't get frustrated. Baby steps.